Good morning, or buona dimnaz, as they tend to say around these parts. Sorry, not quite looking my best. Haven't quite combed my hair, but anyway, it's okay. So I just was thinking this morning about a little experience I had a couple of weeks ago, helping at a children's day camp at the church here, and I noticed some of the children were playing in the fountain at the entrance to the church. And so I went over to stop them, and I spent a little while negotiating, trying to convince them to stop them. They didn't really want to listen, and after a bit more time spent discussing with them, I eventually found myself playing with them in the fountain, which we weren't really supposed to be doing, and eventually somebody else, one of the other leaders, came over, and when he came over and told us to stop, we did. But this little experience reminded me of the idea that you don't really have to teach your children to. You don't really have to teach children to disobey. They kind of instinctively know how to be disobedient, to not listen to you, to tell lies and get up to all sorts of other things. And actually, the other way around, you have to teach and train a child the way to go, which is not really a popular idea in today's society. I saw a film once, I Am David, and the whole premises of the film was that actually we're intrinsically good, and it's the evils of society around us that make us do bad things. And there is this idea, and if that was the case, it would mean then that if we improve education, we improve people's living conditions and so on, then we will improve and overcome many of the bad things that happen in the world if they're only caused by the evils and difficulties of society. But actually, if we read in the Bible, we see a different idea. And particularly if we go back to the beginning, to Adam and Eve, we see that they were created and put in a perfect environment in the Garden of Eden where they had everything they needed. But in spite of being in this paradise, they still ended up sinning. They still ended up doing something bad, which was against God's will. Why is this? Well, Jesus in Mark 7 says that bad things, if you like, come from within us. It's not that the difficulties or the badness of our environment causes us to do bad things. Maybe it influences us, but the bad things themselves come from within. And we see this as we read about Eve, the fact that when she gets into a conversation with the serpent, the serpent starts to question God's word, what he's told her. He starts to cause her to doubt the truth of God's word and the goodness of his intentions. And as a result, it says in verse 6, when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. So admittedly, the serpent has raised these doubts in her mind, but ultimately it was from her own initiative that she saw and decided to take the fruit that she wasn't supposed to take. And we see the consequences of this as we read through the passage. But there are two signs of hope which I'd like to leave you with. Firstly, in verse 15, God says, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head and you will strike his heel. This is seen as a promise that although this bad situation has occurred, ultimately, through the generations to come, through the offspring or seed of the woman, somebody will be risen up who will crush the serpent's head, i.e. will destroy him, will destroy the devil, if you like. However, this person will be struck at his heel by the serpent, which fairly obviously represents the devil. And this can be seen as a promise of the crucifixion, the fact that Jesus, in dying on the cross, overcame the power of evil, this temptation which exists in the world, but in order to do so he was crucified, which was the devil striking at his heel, but he overcame, he was resurrected. This hymn then